Welcome back into the Arrowhead Pride Rapid Reaction Show. I am Steven Serda, joined as always by my guy Rocky Magana, who I believe is wearing a Kansas City Chiefs onesie right now. Kramer Sanson in the background helping us keep this thing moving. Those Kansas City Chiefs, man, what an unbelievable game. They win Super Bowl 57. They are once again world champions. Patrick Mahomes wins his second Super Bowl ring, is guaranteed to win his second Super Bowl MVP with a 38-35 win over the Philadelphia Eagles. And Rocky, how you feeling, man?
I have never been happier in my entire life. And I am a father and a married man. And do not let my wife hear that. But, oh my God, your Chiefs, the team that they said was in a rebuilding year, the team they said might not win the division, your Kansas City Chiefs, against all odds, down 10 points to start the second half, came back, and they are your 2022/23 NFL Super Bowl champions, about to hoist the mother effing Lombardi trophy for the third time. Patrick Mahomes seals himself as one of the greatest quarterback of all times. Oh my gosh, this was a masterclass by Andy Reid, a masterclass by Steve Spagnuolo in the second half. I can't even tell you how ecstatic I am. First half, forget the first half. The first half didn't exist. First half doesn't matter. Why? Because we won in the second half, and that's all that matters. Oh my God, Steven Serda. We've been Chiefs fans our whole life. This is the post-game show of us as Chiefs fans celebrating a Super Bowl victory. Holy mother effing SHIT balls, man. Oh my gosh, Chiefs Kingdom. We are the champions, baby.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So we've got a ton to talk about on tonight's show. Just an incredible performance by the Kansas City Chiefs, and as if they needed to do anything else to cement their legacies as some of the greatest who have ever done it. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, they get another ring. Chris Jones gets another ring. Frank Clark gets another ring. Unbelievable football game from start to finish. There was fireworks the entire time. You didn't feel good when any defense was on the field because it didn't seem like either defense could stop the opposing offense. And at the end of the day, Rocky, that was, I think, we talk about this Kansas City Chiefs team, and we'll get into like all the key moments and all of that stuff. We've got you covered here on the Arrowhead Pride Rapid Reaction Show. But holy hell, man, the second half of that game, they were perfect offensively. The Chiefs were perfect offensively in the second half of that game. What an unbelievable second half game plan from Andy Reid and that offensive coaching staff, because there was reason to worry. You head into halftime down 10 points, 24-14, and the offense doesn't look great, really. Like they were just kind of had a couple of bad drives where they just got off the field too quick, and it just seemed like things were kind of falling in place for the Eagles. And that second half opening drive was so important in this game because you don't feel reliant that you're going to be able to force the Eagles off of the field. And what do? They come out, they march right down and get a touchdown. And then they're able to force a stop. And then Kadarius Toney comes up huge, and everything just kind of fell in place for the Kansas City Chiefs. But it starts with that second half performance by Andy Reid, because it wasn't perfect in the first half, but man, Andy was coaching for legacy in that second half. That was unbelievable. He was excellent in the second half of this football game.
Oh my God, this was a manifesto by an all-time great in Andy Reid in the second half, especially on the last two touchdowns, the one to Kadarius Toney and the one to Sky Moore, where we motioned speed to the outside, and he used the Eagles' aggression against themselves. Oh my gosh, like those two play calls right there, literally the easiest touchdowns that Andy Reid has had in his entire career, and he waited all game long to dial those up. The first half, The first half was ugly. Like, I mean, what, 8 minutes to 20 minutes of time of possession? Like, the hats off to the Eagles. They played their game plan tonight to perfection. To perfection. Their whole plan was to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline and try to get one-on-one matchups on the outside to their 2 star wide receivers, and it worked. It worked for them. And at the end of the day, though, 5 minutes left, game on the line, season on the line, championship on the line. Patrick Mahomes has the ball in his hands. At that moment, you knew the Chiefs were going to be the NFL Super Bowl champions. Because guess what? 10 times out of 10, if you tell me before the season, 5 minutes left, tied game, Super Bowl, Mahomes has the ball in his hands, do we win that game? Yes, every single time we win that game. There is no question that we win that game. Why? Because he's the best quarterback. He's the best player. He's like, people say, oh, don't throw around the Michael Jordan reference. Don't throw around the greatest of all time. He hasn't played long enough. No, he is the greatest of all time. Every single question was put to bed tonight. His stat line isn't astounding in the yards category, but he played a perfect ball game tonight. Patrick Mahomes played perfect football.
I mean, I think he played perfectly for what he was capable of doing because, late in that first half, he goes down, is limping pretty severely. You could see him on the bench, clearly in a lot of pain and clearly trying to gut it out. But it didn't seem like there was ever any doubt that he was like not coming back into this football game in the second half. And then he just goes out there in the second half and plays about as perfect as he possibly could. Gutted it out like he has in every playoff game since that injury against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the divisional round. And he was just lights out. And Andy was doing everything he could in the second half to help Patrick. They were actually committing to the running game and picking up big chunk yards on the ground with Isaiah Pacheco. He was spectacular in this game, had multiple big runs. And then it just comes down to execution. And in the first half, we saw Travis Kelce just lighten up the Eagles defense, but you needed other guys to step up and make plays because they were not doing that in the first half. They absolutely were not doing that outside of Travis Kelce. Nobody offensively for the Chiefs was stepping up to try to help Patrick Mahomes out. And in the second half, Andy was just getting guys open. And he was saying, well, okay, I'm just going to scheme you guys open so it'll be easier for you to make plays. And we saw everybody contribute. So Juju Smith-Schuster wound up being huge in this game. Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore were both amazing and had their key moments in the game that were amazing, especially for a player like Sky Moore, who we had high hopes for as rookie season. And maybe he didn't quite live up to those, but I still have plenty of hope for him moving forward. To see him get that touchdown in the Super Bowl was an incredible moment. Toney has a big punt return. He gets a touchdown. He was amazing, and he only had one snap in the first half. So I was sitting here like, what are we doing, Andy? Why is Toney like playing such a limited basis in the first half when we acted like he was healthy all week? And it just seemed like Andy was saving all of that because he knew we have to put this thing away in the second half, and we got to play perfect. And they absolutely did. So let's start unpacking this game and trying to understand how the Kansas City Chiefs once again, third Super Bowl in 4 years, second Super Bowl championship. Kansas City, we are going to have a Super Bowl parade sometime next week. I'm assuming it's going to be on Tuesday or Wednesday. There will be a championship parade in Kansas City. We've got the NFL draft coming in a couple of months. Man, it's a really cool time to be a Kansas City native and see what this team is being able to accomplish. But
Hey, Serda, I got a question real quick. What did we give up for Kadarius Toney?
I don't even remember what the trade was off the top of my head.
It wasn't a lot. Yeah, right?
I don't think it was.
It wasn't a lot. Was that the move of the year by Brett Veach?
Yeah,
was that the move of the year? I mean, considering
Toney, you can see it when Toney's on the field, Rocky. Like you can see it. He brings an added dimension of elusiveness and explosiveness that none of the other wide receivers on the team have. And we've seen flashes of it. We haven't gotten a full glimpse of it because he's had so many injury issues staying on the football field and has never really gotten to fully work into the offense and be incorporated in the way that we think he can be when he's fully healthy. With a full offseason in this Chiefs training program and their training staff and how good they are at keeping players on the field, I think Kadarius Toney has a sky-high ceiling next year. But let's start trying to unravel this game a little bit, because we could just sit here and go off all night. There's fireworks going off everywhere around me in Kansas City. I'm sure Kansas City is going to be an absolute madhouse tonight. And, hats off to the Philadelphia Eagles. Incredible game, incredible performance by them. They did as much as any team possibly could to deserve to win a Super Bowl. And tonight, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs were just better. Patrick Mahomes just said, I'm not losing this game. There's no way I'm going to be the reason that we're losing this game, even if I have an ankle injury. And part of the reason the first half was so frustrating, Rocky, was because we see each team go down and score on their opening drives, and both teams made it look easy. They made it look easy in different ways, but that opening script of plays, Andy was just like, we're getting Kelsey free, and we are going to get him open. And he did that early in the game. It leads to the Chiefs' first touchdown of the game to Travis Kelsey, and the Chiefs' offense was just lights out in that opening series. And then they kind of stall out, have some bad possessions, but it also wasn't necessarily on them, where you get the big scoop and score from Nick Bolton, which was the biggest defensive play of the game for the Kansas City Chiefs, probably. And, and in a game where neither defense was having a dramatic impact, like we talked about these pass rushers all week long for the Chiefs and for the Eagles. And there's one combined sack between these two pass rush units. So that's credit to your offensive coaches for the game planning and the way that they're trying to protect their quarterbacks. But Nick Bolton has that scoop and score touchdown, but then they have to immediately turn around and play defense again. And the Eagles were like, okay, well, we're fine. We get it. Yeah, you needed that. That was a big play in the game, but we're just going to go on a long drive now. And we're just going to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline, because we win the game if Patrick Mahomes isn't on the field. And they did that, and they executed it to perfection in the first half. The Chiefs just weren't on the field offensively. Like, they had a couple of bad possessions, and those possessions wound up being huge in the first half because they didn't get back on the field. Like, they just didn't even get another opportunity to go out there and make plays. And the first half, it was frustrating for me because you could see the Chiefs defense playing well. Nick Bolton was playing like an absolute madman tonight, and he was unbelievable. But the defense was playing well overall. I thought they were doing a good job of tackling, and I thought that they were executing pretty well. It's just that, man, the Eagles are really good. That offensive line is really good. AJ Brown's really good. Devontae Smith is really good. Jalen Hurts is really good. He was incredible tonight. Like, any questions or whatever opinion you have about Jalen Hurts, if it's not that Jalen Hurts is a fantastic NFL quarterback, it's wrong, because he was great tonight. He played well enough for them to win a championship. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs' second half performance was the most impressive showing I've seen from them all season long. And we talk about this team and how inconsistent they can be sometimes, and the stupid mistakes that they go through all throughout the regular season. And we get so frustrated because we know how good they can be when they play it like this, when they execute and when they play within the offense. And they did that at the highest of levels on the biggest of stages in the Super Bowl. And that's why they won, because they were totally unstoppable in the second half of this game.
They were completely unstoppable in the second half of this game. And you're right. Like, the Eagles in the first half played their game plan to perfection. It wasn't that the Chiefs were playing bad defense. The Chiefs were just inches away on multiple plays. The Chiefs were close to a sack. The Chiefs were close to a pass breakup. I mean, AJ Brown's touchdown reception. I mean, if we don't get turned, if McDuffie doesn't get turned around on that, he had good coverage. Like, the Chiefs were just inches away all throughout the second half. They were just like so close to making the play that they needed to make. And the fact that they just kept on coming up inches short. And then the fact that, to their credit, Nick Sirianni said, we're not going to punt today. Like, we're only going to beat the Chiefs if we keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline and we refuse to punt. If we keep the ball in our hands and we keep moving the ball down the field and progressing it, and those drives end in points and preferably touchdowns, which they did, they ended in touchdowns, we have a really, really good chance of beating this team, because our best defense is our offense keeping Mahomes on the sideline. And that's exactly what they did. And the Chiefs could not get to Jalen Hurts in the first half. They could not put pressure on Jalen Hurts in the first half. But then you saw in the second half, Spagnuolo, God bless him. As much as I've had to say against him this year, God bless Steve Spagnuolo. I love him. He said, listen, Jalen Hurts sucks when he rolls left. Jalen Hurts has been playing great all day, but he can't roll left and throw the ball. No matter what we do, the one thing we're going to do in the second half is we're going to force Jalen Hurts to roll left and throw the ball on the run. And guess what? They forced Jalen Hurts to roll left and throw the ball on the run, and they finally punted the ball. They were not successful. Colin Saunders, who I texted you literally moments before it happened. I said, Colin Saunders has been horrible today. The Chiefs need to do something about him. And then he gets a sack. He gets the only sack in the game, Steven Serda. But what happened? They forced Jalen Hurts to roll out left. It was Steve Spagnuolo. They saw it on tape, and they went out there and they executed at the perfect time.
And credit to Steve Spagnuolo in the defense, and credit to the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. That offensive line is spectacular. Like, for them, the run that Chris Jones has been on this playoffs and how dominant of a player he has been, for them to basically just freeze him out of the game and minimize his impact is huge. And it says a lot about how elite that offensive line is. Like, they were spectacular. And so when you messaged us that, I was like, yeah, but like, I don't think it's all on those guys. Like Colin Saunders, like, you need Chris Jones to make a play. Colin Saunders is a nice player, and he's had a nice season, and this has been the best season of his NFL career. But like, I'm not looking to Mike Dana in that situation, even though he's been great. I'm not looking to George Karlaftis in those situations, even though he's been really solid as a rookie. I'm looking to Chris Jones, that superstar, to go make a play, or even Frank Clark with the playoff run that he's been on, and what a game-changing player he's been for you this postseason. Like, those are the guys that you need to step up and make plays, and they just could not put pressure on Jalen Hurts. They could not slow down that offense enough. And then in the second half, that aggressiveness from Nick Sirianni that has been his calling card all season long, they were getting fourth downs at will in the first half. And that was part of why I was so frustrated with the way the Chiefs were playing. And then in the second half, they get to a 4th and 6, and they're in a positive field position area, and Sirianni decides to punt it. And I think that's a game deciding call there, where he chose not to be aggressive. He chose not to do the things that they were doing and finding success with. And it played right into the Chiefs' hands, because it was in the second half, defensively for the Chiefs, it was just stay above water. Like, just get off the field. Just give us one chance. Just get off the field once and give the ball back to Patrick, because he's going to go score, and there's nothing they can do about that. And Nick Sirianni kind of played into it and punted there when I did not think that he should. And it didn't really seem to make a lot of sense. And that punt sets up the huge return by Kadarius Toney that gives the Chiefs another touchdown. Like, it all unraveled a little bit. And I think that you saw in the second half, where I think it was the biggest advantage that we discussed a ton at Arrowhead Pride coming into this game, where you obviously have an advantage with Patrick Mahomes because he's always going to be your biggest difference maker. But you have an advantage with this Chiefs coaching staff, with the experience that they have in Super Bowls, in big time games like this. And we were curious how that was going to shape up for Nick Sirianni and his young coaching staff, because he does have a really young coaching staff that doesn't have a ton of experience in situations like this. And I thought in the first half, he was great. And then in the second half, he decides to punt that football, and it totally changed the game. And I think that there might have been some, Super Bowl jitters, nervousness going on there, and thinking, well, we stopped the Chiefs offense in the first half. We can go get a stop now. And they just couldn't do anything to stop the Chiefs offense. So I think they got bailed out a little bit by the Eagles there in the second half, but it's also, you just saw the coaching experience of this Chiefs coaching staff, and Andy Reid just put in, and Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy and all of the other guys on the offensive side of the ball just put together an unbelievable game plan and got everyone involved in the second half, to where you're like, okay, weapon here, weapon here, weapon here, weapon here. And there was nothing the Eagles could do to stop Patrick Mahomes in this offense.
I tell you what, this entire Super Bowl on offense and defense both came down to speed outside of the tackles. On defense, when they forced Jalen Hurts out left where he can't throw from, who do they have out there? They would put L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, or Willie Gay out there, right? To get him in space and to force him out of bounds. The fact that they put speed on the outside negated Jalen Hurts' legs in the second half. And then on offense, what did they do? They ran Isaiah Pacheco off tackle, right? They got him outside of the box. They ran him off tackle and got him outside where his speed and his legs could do some damage. For both of the touchdowns for Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, speed on the outside. They saw something on the tape with the Eagles where they said if we motion or run speed outside, we're going to have some success against these guys. And maybe it's because their front four is so stout and their front four is so aggressive and they're going after the quarterback. You got four guys going straight to the quarterback. Okay, then who's protecting the boundaries, right? And so, I mean, hats off to Andy Reid, hats off to Steve Spagnuolo, hats off to Eric Bieniemy. Like, the fact that the Eagles offensive coordinator is going to become a head coach this year and Eric Bieniemy is not going to, it's just a worn out trope at this point. But like, Eric Bieniemy outcoached the Eagles offensive coordinator this game. He did, head to head, and he's done it year after year. So put some respect on Eric Bieniemy's name. Eric Bieniemy has 2 Super Bowl rings as an offensive coordinator. There's not another offensive coordinator in the NFL that has 2 Super Bowl rings that can't get a shot.
Yeah, and that's actually going to be something to watch this offseason with Eric Bieniemy. His contract expired last year. They brought him back on a 1-year deal, and he is kind of interviewing with other teams even for not just head coaching positions, but he's been talking to some teams about some OC positions because maybe it's for him. He's got to get away from Andy Reid and prove he can do it on his own, but we'll see how that goes. And the Chiefs' game plan in the second half was incredible. They were excellent. It was the biggest difference maker, and Mahomes was great, and he made a lot of plays, but they were making it easy for Patrick Mahomes in the second half. They were trying to do everything they possibly could to give him a hand because he needed it, and he was gutting it out. He was clearly hurt. He did have that fourth quarter 26-yard run that was absolutely incredible. That's going to go down as one of the bigger plays, I think, that we'll remember from this Super Bowl run, because he had that one against the Titans in the AFC Championship game, but this one, knowing he's on one leg, knowing that there's pressure coming and the pocket's collapsing around him, and still being able, even on that bad ankle, to take off and outrun Eagles defenders and make them chase him down. What an unbelievable play with under 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter in a tie football game. Patrick Mahomes just said, I don't care if my leg falls off. I'm not getting sacked here. I've got to get this first down. And he did. And man, what an unreal season, Rocky. What an unreal.
They have doctors for a reason, Steven Serda. They can put your leg back on in the offseason. What are you saving your leg for?
And in a rebuilding season where this defense has so many impactful young players and rookie players. And, Nick Bolton's only in year number 2, and he seems to just be getting better, whether you want to dissect his performance and decide whether or not he's good or not. I think Nick Bolton's a pretty good player, and he was special for them tonight. He was arguably the biggest difference maker on the defensive side of the ball for them tonight. Nick Bolton was great. And to just put it all together this way and win another Super Bowl this season of all seasons, when the AFC West was loading up to take down Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, when the Buffalo Bills add Von Miller and go spend a bunch of money to try to load up and take down the Chiefs, and the Cincinnati Bengals load up on the offensive line to make sure that they can stay ahead of the Chiefs. And none of it mattered this season. The Eagles built a superstar loaded roster with talent at every position that you desperately want to have superstar talent at. They had all of it, and none of it was enough to beat Patrick Mahomes. He's still, again, another Super Bowl champion in his young NFL career. 2-time NFL MVP, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Super Bowl winner. Just Unreal, man. Unreal. What a run. We're in the middle
Nobody
right
can
now,
beat
Rocky.
Mahomes except for Mahomes. Nobody can beat the Chiefs. As long as they have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, nobody beats the Chiefs except for the Chiefs beating themselves. This is a historic combination of head coach and quarterback. Like Chiefs Kingdom, you have a historic combination of head coach and quarterback right now in this moment. You are living through history. Like years from now, they'll look back and they'll say, okay, what were the best NFL teams, right? They'll say, okay, well, let's say the Super Bowl LIV Chiefs, they were pretty good. The Super Bowl LVII Chiefs, they were really good, right? You know, I mean, like Mahomes is that guy. Andy Reid is that guy. Like you have the best. Like we went through years and years and years of good but not great. And then everybody in the AFC West, they said, okay, Josh McDaniels and Devonta Adams, that's enough to top Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They said, okay, Khalil Mack and whoever else is playing over in Los Angeles Chargers right now with Justin Herbert, that's enough to top Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Are you kidding me? Russell Wilson, that's enough to top Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Listen, you could take any other quarterback in the NFL and put him with another head coach, and that is not enough to top Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And that is what we proved tonight. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are the best combination in the NFL. They are Belichick and Brady, you know, in their prime. Like if you want to take a shot at the crown, you better not miss. You took your best shot tonight. Like Philadelphia got as close as anybody possibly could to taking the crown, and they still came up short. And that's not a knock on Philadelphia. Philadelphia is an amazing team. Nick Sirianni is a very good coach. Jalen Hurts, you look at my Twitter feed, I've said for years, Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. But guess what? He's not Patrick Mahomes. And Nick Sirianni is not Andy Reid. Like, we're talking about all-time legend status.
So, Kramer, just go ahead and throw up the Sky Moore touchdown for me, because I just want to sit in it. And I love Sky Moore so much, and it was so cool. Look how excited he is. Look how happy he is right now. It was so cool to see him get this touchdown. And it's a similar play to the Kadarius Toney touchdown. It's just to the other side where Andy Reid's, he was using motion all night to free guys up and to kind of confuse the Eagles defense, which was, again, just another wrinkle in how special his game plan was tonight and how amazing he was. Like, this was the type of game that Andy has been waiting for his entire career. Like, for all the times that he came up short in Philadelphia and losing a couple of years ago to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, this was Andy Reid's masterpiece in the second half of this football game. He was absolutely incredible as a play caller, doing everything he possibly could from the sideline to make life easier on Patrick Mahomes. And then it just comes down to everybody executing and doing their jobs. The Chiefs' offensive line was spectacular. And I just don't think we can discuss enough how exceptional he was in the second half as a play caller. Andy Reid was just absolutely incredible, and they were making everything look so easy. It's just, man, when they talked about earlier in the week, like, no, we're prepared. We're ready for this. Like, they were prepared. This was some of the best execution that they've put together in a single game all season long. And just hats off to them and everything that they were able to accomplish this season. It's just absolutely unreal. And man, for all the young players they still got a lot of draft picks this offseason. That NFL draft is here in Kansas City. And all those young guys that we saw make a big impact this season, Isaiah Pacheco, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Trent McDuffie, Brian Cook, George Karlaftis, Leo Chanel, who played a lot of snaps in this game and actually helped quite a bit against the Eagles rushing attack. And, I think that there's a different world where, the Jalen Hurts runs that were killing them in the first half, but they were doing a good job at containing their running backs. Because where the Eagles, when they really put their foot on your throat in football games, and it happened against the 49ers, they did it for 4 quarters against the New York Giants. is when they don't even need Jalen Hurts to run, when they can just hand the ball off and they can just gash you. Like, that's when they're dominant. Nobody's stopping them. And so a credit to the Chiefs defense, because when the running backs were getting the ball, they were like, okay, well, we know that guy's getting the ball. He's not going anywhere. And they didn't really give up any huge chunk gains on the ground that way. A lot of it was those empty looks from Jalen Hurts, where, you know, most of the time you're in an empty set in shotgun, you're expecting them to throw, and Jalen Hurts was just rushing for 15 yards. It's hard to predict those kinds of plays, because most quarterbacks, you're expecting a throw there, and it's hard to get a read on those kinds of looks from them. So credit to the defense again, but man, this defense has so many young players, and they're only going to get better. And they've got some question marks to address this offseason on both sides of the ball. We'll see what happens with Orlando Brown, but the Chiefs offensive line in this game stepped up against Eagles pass rush that has 78 sacks on the year, including the playoffs. And they protected Patrick Mahomes, and he was not, they got some pressure here and there, but it's not like he was having to run for his life like he was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, and you got everything in that game that you could have possibly asked for on both sides of the ball. I know Eagles fans are probably disappointed, but man, at the end of the day, it just came down to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are the biggest advantage, and you can't do anything about it when it's working as well as it was tonight in Super Bowl 57.
Oh, 100%. And you talk about Miles Sanders and playoff Kenny. They've been huge for the Eagles in this playoff run. And then the Chiefs today said, listen, if Jalen Hurts is going to beat us by scrambling on a passing play, that's one thing. But we're not going to let Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell beat us on the ground. And they focused on them every single time they touched the ball. They rallied to it, and they tackled them for a modest gain. And so the fact that they were able to limit Kenneth Gainwell and Miles Sanders was huge, in Bart Scott to an extent. Now, we're talking Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert got his, but you know what? He wasn't a game breaker. Like, Dallas Goedert had some really nice receptions, but he didn't kill him. And then on the offensive side of the ball, the Eagles' whole game plan, they said, we are not going to get beat by Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is not going to eat us alive today. Well, the first drive, Travis Kelce ate him alive. After that, they double teamed him. They said, we're going to take away Travis Kelce. So Andy Reid said, okay, guess what? We're going to bring Juju Smith-Schuster across the middle also, and we're just going to throw it to him on the RPO. Or we're just going to hit it on the outside of Sky Moore. We're going to hit it to Justin Watson in the seam, right? Or we're just going to pound the ball with Isaiah Pacheco. The Eagles sold out on stopping Travis Kelce, and they were successful with that for the most part in the second half. But at the end of the day, Andy Reid was just like, okay, I'll just go to my next weapon. I'll just go to my next guy, and I'll check down to the next guy. And Mahomes said, okay, put two guys on Travis Kelce, because I want you to do that, because that's going to open up Juju for me. I mean, this is like, any way you look at it, this was a game on the offensive side of the ball that was played to perfection by Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, and Patrick Mahomes. On the defensive side of the ball, they gutted it out. They said, okay, these guys are really good on offense, and they are really, really good on offense. And they stayed with it, and they battled, and they fought. And at the end of the day, they made just enough plays. And that's what you've always wanted out of the Chiefs defense. You never said the Chiefs had to have a top 3 defense in the NFL. You said at the end of the day, they had to make enough plays to give Patrick Mahomes a chance at the end of the day to make a play to win the game. And guess what? We had the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands, game tied with 5 minutes left to go. The defense did its job. They did just enough. And you mentioned the offensive line. I've been so hard on the offensive line. They faced the best pass rush in the NFL today, and they protected Patrick Mahomes. You know what? Orlando Brown Jr., everything I've ever said about you, it's all forgiven, man. Why? Because in the Super Bowl,
pay Orlando now?
I'll pay him. Why? Because you gave us a Super Bowl ring, man. It's worth it. Andrew Wiley, Go ahead, buddy. You're like, I love you. I love everybody on that roster right now, man. Because when the game was on the line and the Super Bowl was on the line, every single player on this Chiefs roster stepped up. They named one player today on the Chiefs roster that folded under pressure. There's not a single one. Every player on this team stepped up. They did their job, and they fought through a really, really hard game, and they won the Super Bowl. That is amazing. That's amazing to think about. And I know that Eagles fans, you're really, really angry about the Juju Smith-Schuster hold call on James Bradbury. That's the life of an NFL game. That's the life of an NFL game. And I think he got held. You think he didn't. That wasn't why the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Like there's no one play that wins or loses a Super Bowl. So don't try to take that away from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, because they played a perfect game despite that. The Chiefs are the NFL Super Bowl champions because they played a perfect game to perfection in the second half.
Yeah, it was really just a masterclass by Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the second half of this football game. And yeah, we probably only got a few more minutes here. I want Rocky and Kramer to be able to go celebrate this win. We still got plenty of work to do here at Arrowhead Pride. If you guys got any comments, make sure you're using hashtag AP Rapid Reaction Show. We'll try to get to a couple of your observations from the game before we get out of here. And I do want to remind you, we'll try to collect whatever post-game press conferences we can find, and those will be available if you're listening to us on the podcast page. Kramer, why don't you come up to the stage? I want Kramer to be in for the last few minutes of the AP Rapid Reaction Show. Kramer has done a spectacular job all season, making this thing look better, making me and Rocky look better, helping us out on the AP Rapid Reaction Show. And Kramer, I want to give you a second to get your thoughts in on the Chiefs winning yet another Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, hey, I'll tell you one thing. I'm happy that the Super Bowl is coming back to the AFC. Put it in the AFC West. It's awesome. I'm happy for you all and everything. It's crazy out here in Liberty, Missouri. Fireworks going off crazy. But no, oh my gosh, that game, I kind of figured that it was going to be tense the entire time. I was sweating it out majority of it. But I'll tell you what. My octopus bet, I'm glad I made, it worked out. So everything worked out just fine. Chiefs, your Super Bowl champions. I love it.
Cream Dog, you've been there through the whole season in the background, making us look good. I can't tell you thank you enough, buddy. You are the MVP of this show.
And you know, I appreciate that, Rocky. All the stuff that you've done, said to me, and all the slanderness stuff. I love it. Absolutely enjoy it. And also, I put this up here real quick. Obviously,
I regret nothing
right here.
Yeah. Just an incredible season. And we're so thankful that we got to break down every single Chiefs game for you guys this year. And that it all culminated in another Super Bowl champion. And we were able to bring you guys coverage and talk about this team each and every week. And we've been on an incredible run at Arrowhead Pride. We've got an unbelievable team at Arrowhead Pride who is covering every aspect of the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to turn the page here. I would say next week, we're going to kind of wrap things up, start taking a look ahead, off-season moves, free agents, NFL draft, and all that stuff. We'll have you totally covered at arrowheadpride.com and on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. But again, just so cool to be a small part of another special season from the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm really appreciative of both of you guys hanging out with me every single week us getting to talk about this football team.
Oh my God, Serda, it's a pleasure to get to be on the show with you every single week. You're my homie, man. And I love breaking down these games with you and Chiefs Kingdom. It's been an honor. It's been an honor to do these post-game shows for you guys. I mean, I can't even imagine, like, dream come true this entire season with my two homies on this show and all of you guys.
Hey, I enjoy this 100%. I appreciate you, sir, of saying, hey, Kramer needs some help. I say, hey, I got you.
Well, Kansas City, we'll have all the Super Bowl parade details for you later this week at arrowheadpride.com. As soon as we know them, you will know them, Chiefs fans. But other than that, What an unbelievable season. Let's go celebrate. We're going to go have some fun. We still got plenty of work to do for you at arrowheadpride.com. As always, please make sure you subscribe, rate, and review everything that we're doing on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. And once again, thank you guys. Hopefully, we'll be covering a lot more Super Bowls at Arrowhead Pride. I tend to think this is just another one, but not the last one for Patrick Mahomes and the way that this team is constructed in the youth that they have. So we still got plenty to discuss as we start to turn the page towards next season. But once again, thank you to all the listeners. Thank you guys for riding with us. It's been a hell of a ride this season, and we'll be back with plenty of content as we start turning the page towards what this Kansas City Chiefs team is going to look like next season. But once again, they are Super Bowl champions. Second ring for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So thank you guys. We will talk to you again very soon here on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network.